Overwatch is not an easy game to quit. But why shouldn't you quit something you don't enjoy playing anymore? If you're not enjoying your time with something, why not use that time on other things that you would enjoy more? In the case of Overwatch, I don't think the answer is that simple. Before I go into this whole discussion, I want to talk about Super Smash Bros. And me. I love Smash. As long as I can remember, I have been playing Smash. That's not a joke, it's not hyperbolic. I mean, literally, my earliest memory is beating Master Hand for the first time in Melee. My little brother being born? Can't remember that at all. That white glove contorting itself back into the abyss as I finally cleared the game on very easy mode? Priceless. And throughout my entire life, every single Smash game has been the biggest and most hyped game for me ever. I remember checking the Smash 4 website every single day, and that is not a joke, to see if a new character was added. And when Smash Ultimate was finally revealed, I did literally fall out of my chair during that Nintendo Direct. And when it finally came out in the end of 2018, it was literally the only thing I did for months. Every day I would come home after school, boot up Smash Ultimate. Online, offline, story mode, training mode, anything. I even hosted not one, but 2 tournaments in my own house, taking over my entire grad party just to play a 32-person bracket. And by the time I got to college in 2019, Smash was arguably the most important thing in my life. It took up all my free time, it helped me find a community, and I started going to tournaments and trying to take the game more and more seriously. But the more I played in these new settings and got very invested into the game, the less and less I was having fun without really knowing it. There were flaws with the game that I hadn't really seen before. I found Ultimate to not actually focus on the things that I liked from Smash, as the combo systems felt linear and short, the native Switch input delay makes the game feel very unresponsive, and the general pace of the game slows down significantly in competitive play, just to name a few. And once, everything happened in 2020, and we were all forced inside for months at a time, playing Smash was just something I did not want to do anymore. My only options to play it were against computers or playing online. So after a week or two of only practicing against computers, I just decided it wasn't worth it and I wanted to stop. The kicker to this was that this same summer, Melee actually got the rollback Slippy mod during quarantine, so I started to actually learn Melee on a competitive level. I was never very good and couldn't do all that many cool things, but even through my limited execution, I could see how much more fun and engaging it was to me. After playing only Melee as my platform fighter fix for a little bit, I did come to a hard realization. I don't want to play, and I don't have to play Smash Ultimate anymore. And that's exactly what I did. I stopped. I booted it up for like 20 minutes when every new character was released, and even then I stopped doing that by the end of the DLC lifecycle. Funnily enough, it was right in the middle of my initial crisis with Smash that Blizzard finally announced Overwatch 2, and I started to dip my toes back in. I had played Overwatch for a year religiously on my PS4 when it came out, and just naturally after a while, I wanted to start playing other things, so I stopped. I never stopped loving it, I was just looking for some much needed variety. When you clock in 1,300 hours in 1 year, you start to want to play other things sometimes. But Overwatch 2 initially made Overwatch 1 feel much more exciting to play again, and I picked it back up, got a PC, fell right back in love, got really into professional play, played on my college team for a couple years, and that brings us to today. I know this video is about quitting Overwatch, but I personally have never thought about it for real. I love Overwatch, and I still enjoy it, and I have fun with it today every time I boot it up. Sometimes I'll play it every day religiously, other times I won't play it more than like once a week. Doesn't matter, I still love it and I'm still going to keep playing it. There are things I liked about Overwatch 1 that I miss, but there are plenty of things that I like about Overwatch 2 and many things that just transferred over from Overwatch 1 anyways. Now, there are obviously valid criticisms and the game and its values have shifted over the years. Many of the things I love about it are still here and still being expanded upon, so I want to be a part of the community. But I understand that many things that got people into it so hard in the first place have shifted a little and sometimes been entirely removed. And of course, by being so heavily involved in this community, I see all the reactions of everything and all the doom and gloom and longing for Overwatch 1 to return. Now, I want to be clear. This video is not about the conversation surrounding the game and all the changes that they made and trying to fix all the problems that exist in Overwatch 2. That is a whole different can of worms. However, I do see a lot of takes that are convinced that there are no solutions to the problems that Overwatch 2 has, and hitting the reset button might as well just be the best way to do it. To these people that have gotten this far into the thought pipeline, my question to you is, why not quit? At least, that's the first thing that comes to mind. But there are a lot of layers to peel back that aren't typical for most other video games. See, Overwatch, and by extension Overwatch 2, are in a very unique position when it comes to the changes made to the game. To go into this further, let's talk about a different genre. I want to take a detour to traditional fighting games for a moment. We are in an FGC renaissance of sorts, with the newest versions of the biggest fighting games, Guilty Gear Strive, Street Fighter 6, and Tekken 8, are all some of, if not the most popular entries in their respective series, and have drawn in lots of new crowds who weren't into fighters before. Personally, Strive got me hooked and expanded my horizons to older Guilty Gear games, as well as other series that seemed much more daunting to me at the time. But this new era of modern fighting games has rubbed some old heads the wrong way. Many think that the focus on higher damage and better offense, resulting in faster games with less interactions, has taken away some of the core of fighting games of the past, somewhat homogenizing the characters and the genre as a whole. I don't think this is all true, but I do understand the sentiment. But the thing that's always confused me about these people that only ever complain about these games really comes down to, what's stopping you from playing the old ones you like? We'll come back to professional players and streamers later, but for the regular FGC fan, all of these old games still have healthy communities. In fact, some have even been updated with online multiplayer and rollback netcode, which have revitalized some of these games. I would have never discovered my love for Cliff Anderson and Guilty Gear XX Accent Core Plus R if I had never gotten online netcode for that game. And yes, that is actually the full name of that video game. You should try it, it's very cheap on Steam. Anyways. In fact, these communities have only grown since the new fighting games have gotten so popular and have piqued curiosity for the old stuff. So the point here is that fighting game players have no obligation to play the new stuff and can focus on playing the games they like because there's always going to be someone to play it with, and it will always be available to play. This is not the same for Overwatch. Overwatch 1 is gone and it is not coming back. So when you tell someone just to quit if you don't like the new direction, it isn't that simple. There is nothing to go back to. The live service Ouroboros has devoured itself. There is a much larger conversation to be had about live service, constant updates, game preservations, and many other topics of the sort. But the fact of the matter is that Overwatch will never exist in the same way that it used to. And I think that since there is only one Overwatch ever at a time, people are more inclined to stay and beg for changes that reflect what they like, because changing Overwatch 2 is the only way to get Overwatch 1 back. In theory, of course. And while I do understand where they're coming from, I have to ask, is it really worth it? If you have no fun and suffer while playing the game, is it really worth the stress you put yourself under for the slim chance the game will go back to what you want it to be? This is not meant to be condescending at all. I understand and have personally been through this same struggle before, and it isn't a healthy headspace to be in. Now, I would like to bring up an exception to this school of thought and talk about creators, pro players, and anyone who makes a living off of this game. These are, of course, the loudest voices in our communities, so you are going to be hearing the most from these people anyway. To many of them, their communities are and were built off of Overwatch specifically, and many of them are afraid to branch out to other things because naturally their numbers will go down. That's a scary place to be in when this is your entire livelihood. Pro players have it particularly rough because their whole careers are playing Overwatch basically all day at the highest level to make money, and if they aren't enjoying the game, then it can feel like the most miserable job ever. And yes, I know the argument will always come up that retail, food service, and other service jobs are harder and that they should be grateful for their position. As someone who has worked those jobs before, I understand the stress it puts on someone to loathe having to go into work and the toll it takes on your mental health when you do not enjoy what you spend the majority of your day doing. And also, many esports salaries, especially right now, aren't that good for a bulk of players, so it probably feels like it isn't worth it at the end of the day. Just look at Overwatch veteran Hawk, who just recently retired, even citing that he's getting paid less than he was in 2019 in contenders. And he is not a no-name talent. He is maybe North America's best tank player that we have right now. Or we did have, I guess. So for these people, I understand the idea of hanging around even as the game shifts direction, because this is your livelihood. I mean, hell, if Overwatch shut down tomorrow, all of my progress growing my community and channels would just be gone in an instant. I'm not exactly making money doing this, but it's still a lot of effort that I'd have to redo to build a community again about something else, and I only have like 400 subs. I can only imagine what some of those middle ground content creators would be thinking about that. All of that going to say, again, it really isn't that simple just to say you should quit Overwatch. I didn't even touch on the amount of money people throw into this game, personal communities and connections people have because of Overwatch, or just the general purpose the characters and story serve in people's lives. There is a lot more to the prospect of quitting than just, you should quit because you don't like it. I stopped playing Valorant because I hated it, but I also didn't have 4,000 hours and thousands of dollars sunk into it. I had maybe like 30 hours and absolutely $0 put into it, so it was a very easy decision to make, even if I had plenty of friends who still played it and pressured me to kind of play it at the time. Even if Overwatch suddenly removed all my favorite characters and maps, I don't think I could bring myself to quitting, at least not for a very long time after that decision was made. As I begin the wrap-up and conclusion for this video, I do want to continue my anecdote from earlier. See, my journey with Smash didn't actually end in 2020. In fact, I still play it today. Albeit much less often and in much smaller doses, but I'll travel to a tournament every once in a while. I'll realize that I missed out on 4 years of growth and experience and that I'm hyper-washed, but I'll still go sometimes. And sometimes my friends will be hanging out and somebody will boot up Smash and we'll just play free-for-all with items and all that good stuff, the way Smash was kind of meant to be played anyways. And you know what? I've had lots of fun. I changed the way I engaged with it, and I found the reason I appreciated it in the first place again. If you find yourself frustrated with Overwatch, I encourage you to take a break. Play some other games, read a book, make a recipe, I don't know, go fishing, enrich your life in another way. I know it can be engaging to play and master a skill over and over again, but I also found when I had my breaks from Smash and even Overwatch that I spent a lot more time enriching my life with other things, and that felt really good, and especially good when I came back to those things. Once enough time has passed, come back, but just dip your toes in. Sample the whole platter. Play some arcade, try out some characters you don't have much time in. Find a funny custom mode you can play with a friend. Maybe there's a new map now. Maybe there's some new skins to try out. There's a lot more to appreciate about the games we play outside of our personal areas of focus. And if you still don't have fun, that's fine. I tried to play Baldur's Gate 3. I had no idea how D&D worked, my computer struggled to run it, and I got stuck in an early game encounter just trying to navigate these foreign battle systems. I ended up refunding it, but do I think it's a bad game? Not at all. The characters all appear to be super well written, and how all these systems interact with each other, letting you do all that silly D&D stuff, is straight up miraculous. It just isn't what I'm looking for. Maybe one day I'll go back and give it another go, but for right now, I'll appreciate it from the sidelines. And that's okay. Overwatch doesn't need to disappear from your life, but it doesn't have to be that one thing you do all the time. And now there's a whole new wave of hero shooters coming, seemingly inspired by Overwatch. Remember what I said about the popular fighting games creating and revitalizing communities for other games in the genre? Maybe this will be a similar situation. Maybe the right Overwatch game for you isn't actually Overwatch 2 anymore. We all love Overwatch, and I hope that we can reconnect with the reasons we fell in love with it in the first place, even if it is just a pleasant, distant memory. And that's it for me today. What do you guys think about this edited style of video? I've done some edited videos before, but not actually in my discussion style. If you liked it, please let me know. If you didn't like it, there's something you didn't like, I'm always open to criticism. If you wouldn't mind doing any of that good YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe, that always does help. I also stream on Twitch. That's going to be twitch.tv/Lane-Hemingway, where I do most of my discussions live. Obviously, this one wasn't, but most of the time, I'll just upload the VOD, and if you want to talk to me about them live, that's a great place to do it. If you have any Overwatch hot takes, rework ideas, anything you just want to talk about the game in general, join my Discord. It's down in the description below with the rest of my socials. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this newer video. I hope I went into depth about all the points that I wanted to make, but maybe I'll update and add a little extra in the description if I feel like I didn't. But thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good day.